Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I'm going to share with you today the latest charts put together by none other than Galvatron, one of my favorite people within the XRP community. I do have to share with you some bad news, but don't freak out. As far as utility goes of XRP, there's evidence in these charts that remittance size payments have been declining specifically over the last week or so. Why is that happening? I've got analysis from Galvatron, and I'd like to share my thoughts on this topic with you. Then I'll wrap up the video by sharing a piece from CoinDesk, and it's about Facebook, Libra. They're facing an antitrust probe overseas. How about that? Always just getting into trouble. But before we get going here, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you're a fan of Ripple and XRP, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. Alright, so here's a tweet from Galvatron earlier today. Latest charts. Yes, remittance-sized payments are taking a beating. Please read all my tweets in this thread before hanging yourself. I will elaborate more on it. And so I've shown these tweets to you on this channel. Really, every time Galvatron posts updated versions of these charts and I catch them, I'm always happy to share them with you because I find it quite fascinating. And so the theory behind this is, and again, these are, let me read the title here. Number of successful XRP payments grouped by United States dollar payment size, daily count. And this is over a 6-month time span. And so the one that we typically like to look at is the yellow line. The yellow line on this particular chart is remittances and payments between $10 and less than $500, right there. And so the theory being, with each transaction occurring on the ledger, that you can kind of figure out what's speculation and how much is actually being utilized, because the whole thing is, if you look at the high friction corridors that are being tackled by Ripple initially, especially like United States to Philippines, United States to Mexico, we know what a normal remittance sizes would be for those particular corridors. So if you see payments of this particular size go up, especially in tandem with maybe say alleged adoption of XRP, things like that, then you can start to draw some conclusions. Another way to look at things is, as liquidity providers pop into the space, you can differentiate ledger volume versus purely exchange volume, because if you're aware of whatever the data that's pulled from exchanges, you know exactly what's going through on given exchanges, and this is, of course, how market cap and stuff, a lot of you figure out the volume according to like CoinMarketCap and like CoinWatch. But if there's other data showing up on the XRP ledger that is not exchange activity, then you can say, okay, well, this would probably be as a result of liquidity providers, or else why, right? And so that's kind of the theory behind some of this anyway. And so what we've seen is, if you look, again, over the last 6 months, it looked like there was actually an increase over some time, and then it looked like over the last week that it's pretty much tanked. So let me get a little bit further. I want to share with you Galvatron's thoughts on this. And specifically, we're really focusing on the yellow line, so I probably still don't really need to share specifics on the rest of these charts. Although I will share this one. I always like to show this one. This is the chart that shows XRP successful account activations. We're talking about wallets here. And you can see we're about to hit the point where we're at about 1.8 million successful XRP account activations. And so it doesn't completely tell you exactly how many people have an XRP account, a wallet, There are a couple of reasons for that. A lot of people keep their XRP on exchanges. I know, not a good idea, very, very bad idea. But those wallets are typically shared wallets, and so lots of people's XRP on there. And that's why, like, for instance, if you withdraw your XRP from Binance, you are not stuck, you don't have to leave the 20 XRP reserve on your Binance account, for example, when you draw, because it is a shared account, and the destination tag is basically just your address within that shared wallet. So that's all well and good. But then there are also, on the flip side, there are some people that will have multiple XRP accounts, and so you can never know exactly how many people are in this. But the point being, if you look at this and you keep seeing the number of account activations go up, that does still show genuine adoption occurring over time. That it doesn't show actual utility, but it does show people. Because look, a lot of it can be speculation. That's fair to point out, but some of that will end up be accounts that are going to be set up for utility over time. So here's what Galvatron had to say on this. These charts are from my spreadsheet using data from BigQuery provided by Wietse Wind and Camille. What I take from the remittance plummet, combined with the strong Monday through Friday activity signature, is that virtually all of that weekday activity was from a single actor. For reasons unknown, that actor has nearly stopped. This isn't a collapse, it's one actor stopping. A healthy volume wouldn't show weekday spikes. So if anything, we know that we are still in the crawl stage and always have been. Was difficult to see in the beginning, but we can now tell that MoneyGram activity is still inconsequential in the overall picture. Again, not to downplay the great progress being made with MoneyGram, but real progress has been obscured / exaggerated by the single actor. The larger payments drop-off merely shows that was all speculation, not utility. There you go. And it is fascinating to take a look at. And in terms of each data point here, they're separated by, I think it was 2 days. Yeah, each one of these is separated by 2 days. And so so the point that he was making, because it looks like it just keeps going, it's like it'll go up and it'll stay mostly up and then it'll go down and for a shorter period, but then back up and stay up, roughly up for a longer period of time. And so that's what he's talking about when he's saying weekday versus weekend activity. And that's why it looks like a jagged cliffside essentially in chart form. So that's what was going on there. And conceptually, if you're having trouble understanding what he's getting at, just consider if the XRP ledger was being used by nobody. Just hypothetically, if nobody was actually using the XRP ledger, but then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, one person started using the XRP ledger. Well, the activity would just spike up if you looked at it on a chart, right? Okay, and if that one person stopped, it would go away. It'd be like, oh my God, what happened? Well, it was just one person, though. And so if you had two people, you can imagine that now it's not necessarily always flat, but you can have volume spike from the second person, depending on what they're doing. And so you can imagine then add 3 people, then 4 people, then 5 people, and it'll get to a point where if you have enough actors participating, moving XRP on ledger, then when one individual drops out, you're not going to see these massive drops. And so that's the point that Galvatron is largely getting at, is that we're at a point where the volume is just so low that there can be one individual actor that can jump out. And it's a theory, but I think it's a reasonable one. But his point is that they can drop out, and then you see this activity just kind of like go bye-bye for now. And so it's not an indication of adoption with Ripple or banks and financial institutions and remittance companies actually going to use XRP. Look, the volume here, it's so low that it doesn't matter, and we do see real adoption happening. Again, the last update we heard from the Ripple employees that there are over 20 businesses using the production version of XRP. We also, after that, got a tweet from Ashish Burla stating that their hands are, quote, full with XRP customers. So Ripple is staying busy with that. And this is the most notable use case of XRP, in my opinion, and probably yours. I think most people probably feel that way. Of course, there's going to be other adoption with other developers building on top of the ledger. Then you got Coil, and maybe R3 can help in terms of settlement with smart contracts, settle to XRP. I don't know if there's any of that really occurring today, but there'll be things like that. And we shall see. You just got to let the economy, the whole infrastructure build out, which will take some time here. So this is not exactly the end of the world, but I wanted to provide an update and not freak anybody out, even though it is true that, yes, those remittance sizes, which we had previously seen going up, they're taking a beating. But when you're talking about low volume like that, again, that's just the nature of this. So here's another tweet from Galvatron. It was a response to Ichor Fiat, it just sounds like gibberish to me. Ichor, we'll just call him Ichor. Anyway, tweeted out, no offense if you're listening, Ichor. Hello, Galvatron. I've been reading some of your articles, and I wanted to ask, based on what I understood, you think that transactions on the XRP ledger will increase linearly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what if we had a rare instance as a global liquidity crisis? And then he writes, I expect XRP utilization to go up exponentially, but that doesn't mean rapidly, just not linearly. That said, I don't understand how a liquidity crisis helps XRP's value. XRP would still suffer from low liquidity. And so I wanted to take a moment to say, in terms of adoption, I don't. There's no way I could possibly know for sure exactly what this is going to look like, but I tend to think that Galvatron's analysis makes sense in terms of genuine. If you're talking a genuine adoption, actual utility, I agree with him that yes, it would increase exponentially. I have stated as much, but to what degree? How rapidly? And so I don't think that it would ever be linear. That's not how technology adoption works. That really wouldn't make any damn sense to me whatsoever. So if you see spikes up in terms of activity on the XRP ledger, like truly parabolic shifts, or lots of volume going through, it's more likely that speculation. That can happen. I'm not disputing that at all. But in terms of the actual adoption, I think that I think more in line with what Galvatron thinks, which is yes, it can increase exponentially, but it doesn't mean that it will be absolutely massively. But we'll see what that looks like. So, but definitely not linearly. That wouldn't make any sense at all. All right. Then here's another tweet right here. Somebody asked, is there any method to monitor and chart the Coil micropayments? With Coil being the company, I'm sure you guys all know, going for a new form of web monetization, streaming money in real time. Galvatron responded, no, they're off-ledger payments, so they won't show up here. All right. And then I got a tweet. This is unrelated, but I wanted to share this. I just came across this because of XRP Boy. He had the little laughy face and then a thumbs up here in response to something that David Schwartz tweeted out a long time ago. It was this February 19th. Man, I thought it was even longer ago than that. I remember reading through this thread when it came out. And I don't even need to provide the context of the thread, and it's a point in and of itself, I think. And he wrote, sometimes I feel like someone trying to explain email to someone who keeps coming back to how important it is to sort the mail just before the truck arrives. I'm painfully aware of the machinations incumbents go through to work around the limitations of their legacy systems. And so, for those of us that understand that things they are a-changing and legacy systems are going to need to either somehow magically adapt or go extinct, it's so funny to me. Look, I am subject to the same facts as you are, and the same facts that Bitcoin Maximus are subject to. You can go out there and research all this stuff. It's just fascinating to me that some humans get it and some don't. And as it pertains to the adoption of cryptocurrency, specifically XRP, you're not putting the genie back in the bottle. There is no other solution beyond what Ripple has proposed. There is no other solution unless you think that the world at large very soon is going to literally start using cryptocurrencies for payments around the world, and as a result wouldn't need central authorities to help conduct these transfers. I'm not ruling that out as a possibility in the future, but again, I think that could take decades to reach that realization. That particular use case is nowhere near being realized. So if you want to speed up payments today, cross-border payments, and transfer money from one fiat currency to another, the only solution, given that there's a trust issue at the core of all this, is to use distributed ledger technology. You need a blockchain with a native digital asset. In this case, Ripple's using XRP. That is the only way to do this. All right, and then there's a tweet here from BG Araji. All right, 10 cents, 50 cents, $1, $10. Price does not matter. XRP will be used. Bitcoin will not be used. It all comes down to speed, scalability, and security. Don't be on the wrong side of tech history. And I tend to share that sentiment. From everything I've seen, the Lightning Network, it seems like it's a failed experiment, because here's the thing, even if you could technically get it to work, as I've said on this channel many times, it's a centralized solution. It seems like completely antithetical to the whole Bitcoin movement, and it requires pre-funded accounts. So I really question it. There are other ways to scale that have already been proven to work. Ever heard of XRP? Just saying here. So it's not that I'm anti-Bitcoin. If there's a way to scale it and it can find use, super duper. But I don't know. It seems just like a prototype more than anything that's actually useful to me. All right, check this piece out from CoinDesk. Facebook Libra already facing an EU antitrust probe report. Facebook is reportedly already under investigation by the EU over antitrust issues related to its Libra cryptocurrency project. A document seen by Bloomberg indicates that European Commission is currently investigating potential anti-competitive behavior by the Libra Association. The report describes the document as a questionnaire suggesting the Commission is concerned that Facebook's planned digital payment system could unfairly lock out competitors. The governance structure and membership of the Libra Association is apparently under scrutiny. A number of major companies, including MasterCard and Visa, have already signed loose agreements to partner with the Libra Association on the project. Yeah, by the way, I want to point this out. Out of all the, it's been noted quite publicly, the 28 entities that have signed on with Libra, none of them are actually firm agreements. It's like, yes, we're going to move forward with this. It's more like, hey, we're still in talks. Nothing has actually been signed as in there's firm commitments amongst anyone, just to be clear here. The European Commission is also concerned that Libra could give rise to possible competition restrictions. On the use of information, including user data, it's also looking at the possible integration of apps into Facebook services, such as WhatsApp and Messenger, that use Libra. This type of questionnaire is generally issued early on EU information gathering inquiries, says Bloomberg. The European Commission is the executive arm of the EU, which proposes and enforces legislation and implements policies and the budget. Bloomberg said the Commission and Facebook both would not comment on the document. Facebook has faced a wave of concern from the world's regulators over its digital currency plans. Lawmakers in the United States have even called for the project to be stopped until the issues can be examined and discussed. A delegation of U.S. lawmakers led by Congresswoman Maxine Waters is set to discuss Libra with the Swiss data privacy chief when it visits the country this week. And I reported on that within the last few days or so. So, looks like United States politicians are going to another country to learn how to regulate cryptocurrencies, then report back, and we'll see if they put in anything meaningful and useful. Just please put in, whatever the regulation is, yes, I want it. Just please make sure that it's not counterproductive. With the Libra Association incorporated in Switzerland, Facebook has said it expects the Swiss Federal Data Protection and Information Commissioner to be its data privacy regulator. However, the commissioner, Adrian Lobsieger, has previously said Facebook has not in fact been in touch about the project and has called for more information. As per a Reuters report on Wednesday, Lobsieger's office said yesterday it expects to be provided specific details on Libra by the end of this month. So what do you think? Do you think that Libra will ever be anything more than just a white paper? Is it actually going to exist? And if so, will Facebook be a part of it? Could it even exist without Facebook? Because you got allegedly this group of 28 entities. I don't know, man. We shall see. That's it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!